آزادی بیان.
言论自由
free speech.
I mean, and what do you think the overall sort of impact the internet has had on freedom of speech, and do you think tools like Twitter and Facebook have actually helped promote freedom of speech?
It depends on how you conceptualize freedom of speech. I mean, if you're eager to have a very broad definition that also includes things like privacy and surveillance and the sort of broader universe of issues related to freedom of expression, you can easily argue that the overall effect has been negative. So even though you can self-publish very easily and you have your own printing press and you can do it, automatically, in reality, your printing press comes with a little IP address, a little number that then can be tracked. Yes, you're talking and talking and talking, but then there is a guy sitting somewhere in the local KGB office that reads everything that you publish, learns how to govern more effectively, and then arrests you. At this point, there are lots of disagreements. I mean, there are people who think that, for example, people like me overstate the case for surveillance. We claim that it's all easy and you can use data mining, you can hire private actors who will actually track everything you do, track the IP addresses, actually predict dissent even before dissent happens. Many people don't buy that story. They believe in the power of activists to challenge, and they focus on 2 or 3 heroic cases where activists do use all of the encryption tools ever invented by mankind, and they think that this proves that the surveillance state loses. I think it doesn't prove that the surveillance state loses, because as heroic as they are, this is just 3 individuals. Right? You can tell their story in a lot of detail, but the reality is that the majority of people voluntarily surrender a lot of the private information while talking and publishing a lot of interesting things, while at the same time the government actually gets empowered with all that data. So I would be very cautious and hesitant even not to draw any absolute conclusions about the net effect of the internet and freedom of expression. It's just impossible to tell, frankly, and anyone who tells you they know the impact are probably charlatans. Because it depends on the country-by-country case analysis. In many cases, you take a country like Russia, where there is no censorship on the internet formally. So technically, few sites, except for really radical extremist sites, are banned. So if your indication of freedom of speech in Russia is availability of websites or internet filtering, Russia looks like a great case. It looks as democratic as any Western European country, probably even more democratic than Britain as its cyber laws. The problem is that once you start looking at the case more closely, you see that the government has found better ways to control the internet. They own the oligarchs close to the Kremlin. They own the publishing companies and the new media publishing companies that actually host all those blogs and social networks. Some mysterious cyber attacks on the websites of activists and independent media appear out of nowhere, coordinated by young people close to the Kremlin. You have an army of commentators who go and leave comments on the websites of prominent opposition to spoil the discussion and to take it in the direction that's favorable to the Kremlin. Censorship and control takes other forms than internet filtering. So the reason I'm saying that is that you need a particular lens and a particular framework for grasping what the internet does for each country. So in Russia, internet control will take one form. In Azerbaijan, it will take another form. And my problem with most of the internet scholarship in the last decade is that the criteria they chose to measure internet freedom or freedom of expression on the internet is internet filtering. How many websites are filtered? How many websites are not filtered? And when you adopt that as your measure and as your benchmark, it's very easy to see progress where there is no progress. So from that, and reasonably, that's the only metric you can have to have a quick study. And governments need quick studies. That's why you see a lot of governments funding a lot of interesting work which measures internet filtering, and I'm not going to Western governments. Does it actually say anything about internet control? I'm not so sure.